It comes as no surprise to hear that construction projects don't always go as planned. It's far from uncommon for a variety of changes to take place between a project's start and official completion. For instance, there may be changes made to the project's original plan after contractors are already working on site. Perhaps the original scope of work has expanded by adding items to the project. Or there could be disagreements over what the project will actually require to finish versus what was originally planned for. How do clients and contractors go about addressing any changes to the project budget and schedule? That is where a change order comes into play. If this is your first time checking out our channel, welcome. My name is Patrick, and I've worked in construction management for over 15 years. And I'm here to tell you that change orders are an official cornerstone of the construction management process. So let's start by defining what a change order is. A change order is a legally binding document that represents a change made to the project's original scope of work, including a summary of what the change entails, as well as how this change will impact the project budget and schedule. Additional terms and conditions may also apply. Change order work is often referred to as an extra, a claim, or additional work, depending on the circumstances, and I may use these terms from time to time throughout the video. Once a change order is signed by the client and the contractor, the terms outlined in a change order become an official part of the contract, which of course includes changes to the budget and schedule, as we said before. This video will be part one of a two-part series on how change orders work and the basic information you need to know to manage and create change orders yourself on your own projects. In part one, we'll be going through 6 common scenarios in construction projects that often result in a change order being written. I'd say these scenarios cover about 95% of the situations you're likely to encounter. Each scenario will contain examples of things I've personally encountered myself and have had to deal with when writing change orders as well. We'll also be discussing the impact a change order can have on a project depending on several variables, including the phase of the project in which it happens, the parties involved, and so on. And in part 2, I'll be going through 10 tips and essentials for writing and reviewing change orders yourself. If that's something you're interested in, keep an eye out for it in the coming days and consider subscribing and turning on notifications in the meantime so you'll be alerted when we upload the video. And last but not least, before we get started, I'd like to give a shout out to today's sponsor, OSHA Campus by 360 Training. If you need to complete an OSHA 10 or 30-hour training course, 360 Training offers flexible, affordable, 100% online options which you can complete on your own schedule from any device. Check out the pinned comment below to enroll today. If you sign up using our link, we may receive a small commission which helps support our channel. And now, let's dive in. In this section, we'll be outlining 6 common change order scenarios that come up on a project somewhere each and every day. The scenarios we'll be discussing involve change orders issued by the clients to their contractors, as well as change orders issued by a contractor to their subcontractors. There is often an overlap between the two scenarios, such as when a change to the project scope involves multiple contractors, but there are a host of situations where there's a separation between these types as well. Note that in this video, I won't be touching upon back charges, penalties, or other legal matters, as I plan to address them in future videos. Now let's get started with scenario number 1. A scenario where new work is added to the scope is among the more common types of change orders you'll come across. They're arguably the simplest to negotiate and process as well, given that a client presenting the additional work should expect additional cost to come along with it. The concept is pretty straightforward. These change orders involve the addition of more work to the project. This can happen both before the work starts as well as once it's underway. For a simple example, let's imagine a small building owner that decides to remodel their property. At this stage, they already have a contractor on board to do the renovations. Once the remodeling contractor has started working on the building, the owner decides that they also want to demolish a freestanding garage they have on the property as well. Assuming that they can agree on price and conditions, the owner could grant the contractor a change order to demolish the barn in addition to the work they're doing already. Change orders that involve an adjustment to the original project scope are also fairly common. Rather than simply adding new work to the project, these change orders arise out of making a change to the specific parts of the original scope or design. These changes can happen both before work starts as well as once work is underway, requiring different means and methods or types of materials. Here are a few real examples from a project I oversaw a few years ago. We were the general contractor performing the interior renovation of a library. During this project, we were given several change orders for scope adjustments that fell under this category. These changes included switching out the type of glass specified in the interior decorative partition walls, upgrading the originally specified door hardware, altering the design of the central reception counter, and changing the stud wall layouts for several offices, as well as relocating the main electrical distribution panel to a new location. Most of these changes to the original plan required a combination of additional labor, equipment, materials, and time to get the job done. The term unforeseen conditions is used to describe conditions encountered on site that either differ from what's shown or were not anticipated in the contract documents. It's often the case that these conditions couldn't be known prior to work starting and are especially common on renovations of older properties and structures. Here are a few situations I've encountered that require change orders due to unforeseen conditions. The first involved demolishing a wall inside an older government building for a new doorway, only to find surprise waste and vent pipes running directly through that spot. The change order involved having our plumber reroute both pipes to another location inside an adjacent wall. On another project, we were in the process of digging an approach pit for some foundation repairs, where the excavator ran into a 6-ton boulder several feet under the surface. In situations like these, clients and the contractor must discuss potential solutions to address the unforeseen conditions and negotiate the cost of what this additional work should be. In some cases, the two parties might disagree on how much this work should cost, or whether it should be an extra at all. The terms in the contract will ultimately dictate how the situation is resolved. Now, before we move on to the next category, I'd like to take a moment to mention that I offer virtual one-on-one mentorship and coaching. I have a degree in civil engineering and have spent the last 17 years working in the commercial construction industry. In that time, I've worked as a laborer, on-site supervisor, and project manager. And it's truly a joy to utilize the skills and experiences I've picked up along the way to help others learn, grow, and prosper. Whether you're just starting out in project management and you're looking for guidance, or you're a more experienced PM looking to discuss a specific topic, I offer both 30 and 60-minute sessions. To learn more or to book a Zoom session today, check out the link in the description below. Disagreements over documents or scope happen when a contractor feels that the actual work required to complete a project is not fully represented in the contract documents, or within their contractual scope of work. The implication is that contractors could not or did not factor certain aspects of the work into the original price, and are making a claim for additional time, funding, or both as a result. Whether or not the contractor is actually entitled to the additional time and money warrants further examination. Here's a somewhat recent example of mine. A few years ago, I was overseeing the exterior renovation of a museum. Our scope of work included the removal of an old asphalt roof and replacing it with a new roofing system. The drawings included several standard details from the roofing manufacturer on what's required for certain roofing conditions, including how to detail a duct, a conduit, or a pipe penetrating through the roof. While this sounds good on paper, a lot of the ductwork, piping, and electrical penetrations were not able to be detailed per the manufacturer's requirements in their current condition. As the general contractor, we submitted claims on behalf of our roofing, electrical, and HVAC subcontractors for costs to modify the conditions on the roof accordingly, despite the fact that specific conditions on the roof were not called out in the drawings. Only the standardized details were provided. We ended up negotiating a settlement as neither party was completely right or wrong in the end, once we shook out all the information. A credit change order involves the client or general contractor taking a portion of work out of their project scope, or out of the scope for a specific subcontractor. In the vast majority of cases, credit change orders involve contractors giving up a portion of the contract value for work that won't be performed, but they may occasionally impact the schedule as well. Credit change orders can come up in a variety of situations that are essentially the opposite of the types we've covered so far. Here are a few examples I can offer. In the wake of the 2020 virus, many materials were not available, and in kind, some clients were willing to accept a cheaper substitute material in their place. Our subcontractors had to provide a credit for the difference in material cost, which would be passed through us as the GC to the client. In another instance not long ago, a portion of a ground-up commercial building we're working on required that we put in a new parking lot as well as concrete sidewalks and chain-link fence. For a few logistical reasons, the client decided that they're going to have a different contractor do the parking lot work later. In kind, we had to give back a credit for which each of those work items were worth. In many cases, A subcontractor could be issued a change order by the GC even when no changes have been made on the client's end. I refer to these as internal change orders. This type of change order can be based on any of the five situations we've already gone through, depending on how the contracts and project documents are written. The main distinction lies in that internal or subcontractor change orders have no effect on the project's existing budget, schedule, terms, or conditions from the standpoint of the client. They are purely written between the GC and their subcontractors when additional work is awarded, credits are taken, or disagreements over scope of work are resolved. Now that we've covered the common types of change orders we're likely to encounter, let's talk about a few variables in our projects that affect how much a change order is worth and what the terms and conditions need to be. The phase that a project is in when a change is introduced can have an effect on how much that change order will cost. Changes that take place before a project starts are usually a lot easier to address when compared to that same change happening after the project is underway. Generally speaking, the further along a project is when a change is introduced, the higher the cost impact will be, and the more likely that additional time will be needed. We'll get into the specifics in the following sections, but this general principle is worth pointing out as a concept. In many cases, steps taken early on in a project's process can carry significant value. Therefore, changes that are made after a project starts, even if they happen early, may still be impacted by what was done at the very beginning. For instance, valuable materials may be on order, paid for, or even on site and ready to go at the time that a change is introduced. Subcontracts and purchase orders may already be signed, and deposits issued as needed. Engineers could already be hired and have produced stamped design drawings at the time a change comes up. Permits for a specific design may already be in place as well. You get the idea. Depending on what the change is, there could be cost and schedule impacts from switching materials, paying restocking fees, and so on. Additionally, contracts being canceled, redesigns being required by professionals, will also have an impact on both the budget and schedule. If a change to the project scope is introduced after work on the impacted items has started, the project will be affected in a number of ways. First of all, the tasks involved with these items have to stop right away, so as to not continue doing any work that is going to change anyways. Depending on whether this item is a critical path task on the schedule, the change might delay the entire project until it's resolved. Additionally, materials bought for the project may need to be returned, with new materials ordered in its place. Depending on the lead time of the materials needed, or if items already bought can be returned for full value, the amount of the change order can vary considerably, costing both time and money to do so. Lastly, finished product that's already been built or installed can't be refunded, and will likely need to be at least partially removed in preparation for the new work. This is similar to the previous section where we discussed what's already been secured, but I wanted to draw the distinction between securing materials and other items versus actually having work partially performed already. It's fairly self-evident, but figured it's worth mentioning anyways. The more trades that are affected by a change order, the more expensive it's going to be. This increase in cost becomes exponentially higher if the change happens later in the game, and if redoing any work is required. With several trades involved, one can imagine that the cost and schedule impacts will be much higher in these scenarios between pure cost changes and additional coordination being required. A good rule of thumb is to examine if the project change will have a structural impact or will affect mechanical, electrical, or plumbing systems. Changes involving these work items will almost always be costly and take a lot of time to fully absorb into the project. This is because these items often require an engineer's stamp of approval, potential additional permitting, inspections, and so on. They may also involve complete shutdowns of the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems in order to logistically do certain portions of the work, which require more coordination and effort as well. Lastly, labor wages, equipment, and material for these types of work are always on the higher side of the cost spectrum too. In short, just keep in mind that changes associated with structural, mechanical, electrical, or plumbing systems are always costly, both in terms of dollars and in time. And that wraps up part 1 on the basics of construction change orders. I hope you found this information useful and informative. Now, what do you think? Is there anything you'd add to this list? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, keep an eye out for part 2 of this series, where we'll be going through 10 must-know tips and essentials for writing and reviewing change orders yourselves on your own projects. If you enjoyed today's video and you think I did a good job explaining this information, liking it and sharing it with someone you think would find it helpful is a big help to our channel. If you'd like to see more videos in the future about project management, construction management, and other workplace topics, consider subscribing as well. Your support does not go unnoticed. And just a friendly reminder that if you're interested in one-on-one virtual mentorship and coaching, check out a link in the description below for more information or to book a session today with yours truly. And thank you for watching. This is PM Problem signing off, and until next time, cheers.